Hello everyone, this is Shruthi here. I head product engineering at Incture, and I'm happy to introduce Ravi, who is heading product management at Incture. Hi Ravi.
Hi Shruti, looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to this. Thank you so much, Ravi, for your time to have this hard talk and discuss more about the intelligent task management product that we are about to launch. So let's
Yeah.
get started. I hope your work is all done and you're ready for the Q&A.
Yeah, I'm ready as ready can be. Let's go.
Okay. So Ravi, let's start at the point of, why, the point with why, right? Why do we need intelligent task management? Or if I have to paraphrase this question, how does an organization without intelligent task management look like?
People keep asking me this question, right? I think if you look at it, it started, even I started asking this question. Even in our company of a size of Incher, when I last counted, we had about 16 different application what we needed to use. And at the level where we were using almost all of them. And now if I start extrapolating this to a enterprises, right, bigger enterprises with the $1 billion plus of revenue companies or the size of Walmarts and others, right? Then I said, okay, let's see what is their problem. And when I started looking at it, I realized that the number is in the higher double digit, and it's reaching the triple digit kind of a number we were looking at. The survey from Okta said that it's about 89 is the average number of application. It's mainly because of all the different departments. They have their own applications. Marketing has its own different set of tools. Sales has its own. Product has its own. So things like that, right? So then the overall application landscape expands into a size which becomes too large. And now imagine a situation of a knowledge worker, right, who is expected to maybe work across this department, or a workflow which needs to go across these departments. It becomes a pretty complex system to look at. And usually, if it is not looked at, all of this system can be silos also, right? So that's where the problem came in. And everybody whom we started speaking to, even myself, right, I was saying, okay, how do I make my life easier, and everything what I need to do is available for me in one place. That's how the intelligent task management came in. Without that, you would have an employee maybe switching between at least 10 different application or 15 different applications to do his job. And you should realize that every time an employee switches like this, usually the cognitive memory takes some time to get back into the zone, right? And the study says that it's about 20 plus minutes. So you're losing that much time when he doesn't know, okay, he's getting everything, he's in that zone, then everything happens so smooth. That's what we're trying to solve here.
Uh, I think that's a very prevalent problem in the enterprise and the organization. And many companies would be looking for a solution for this problem,
Yeah.
right? And now tell me, how does intelligent task management help here? Or how does the scene change when intelligent task management is coming into
Coming into the picture.
the
uh,
organization or the enterprise?
Yeah, so if you look at it, if you look at the human psychology point of view, right, uh, switching between different application definitely doesn't help, which I think you would have also realized. At least I do realize it every day that suddenly I come to an email or Outlook, then I think for 5-10 minutes to think, what was I doing last year? Okay, what email which I had to do some action on and things like that. So I usually get confused, or at least I need that time. So switching between these things doesn't really help. Because if you look at from a worker point of view, I said this, that they are trying to see how to complete that task. uh, how many our systems doesn't matter to them. For the knowledge worker, it is the work has to finish. and he is just looking at the tools which is going to help him to do it. The more the number of tools which he needs to access to get the work done, the slower he is going to be. So it is you need to look at it from a human brain point of view, right? It has to, the technology has to be such that it allows the people to do their work instead the other way around, that people have to use different technologies to do it. Right, so we have to reduce this cognitive overload which is already there in the system today, with everything being excess in terms of information overload, application overload, everything is overload. So that's where we came in. We have so we started looking at everything from a task perspective. So you need to complete a workflow. That means we break it down. Okay, what are the different tasks you need to do, and that is a task for you to do. Maybe there are 10 tasks which are going to two three different people, but it's still a task, you need to complete it. So that's how we are giving it like a small minute chunks which the user can consume, and thereby also then connecting all of them together across the multiple landscape and showing it in one place. So that's what we are trying to see, and also avoid the distraction as much as possible. There are some applications today in the enterprise world where they say they do it, but then they give you as like a, it's like a launch pad only. That means you see it, but when you access it, it opens up to something else, so you are again moving out of the application. So the moment you go out, the context which happens, right? So we try to avoid that and make sure everything what the user needs is available in our application, so that he or she is able to do everything what is required in here. That's the focus.
I think I really like the phrase you mentioned, cognitive overload, and that's definitely something we need to help people with, right? There's so much of work to be done, and in this digital world where the number of applications are increasing, and we need more and more, support, more and more tools or a product like intelligent task management to help them increase the productivity, right? This is something we are telling. And how is it that the customer can perceive benefits out of this kind of product? So at the user level or at a person level or knowledge worker level, there is a clear benefit that we can see, but when we extrapolate it for the organization, what are the kind of benefits that they can see?
Yeah, very, very valid question, right? So everything finally has to come out to a number. Very important for organization to sign on that dotted line. So if you just take, there are some example. Maybe just let's take one scenario, which we all can agree on, that the context switching. As again, it's not me who's telling. The research tells us that every time the context switch happens, the mind takes about 20 minutes to reorient and get it back into that zone, right? So that 20 minutes is lost. So that is quantifiable. So it's a productivity loss. So 10 systems, you do it 5 times in a day, 10 times in a day, you're talking about so much amount of time lost, right? That's one way. So that time is money. We can quantify it. That's one way. We can also look at the way we are improving, right? So if I'm, let's say that if I can, using our solution, if you're the user is able to spend, let's say 5% of his time, 10% of his time, which otherwise would have been lost, I can quantify it. I can quantify it, and then there is a business case which we can build. And if you start doing it, the numbers would surprise you, because it's going to be a pretty big number pretty soon. So you will have your ROI, which you can just get it back in like months. We're not even talking about a year here.
Yeah, I think every dollar saved is a dollar earned. And I think in this context, the productivity that is needed for a knowledge worker, as well as how that extrapolates to an organization, I think it's going to be pretty exponential as the team starts using the product, right? You mentioned about having faced these problems yourself, and Incture as a company, we are providing these kind of products and solutions to external companies, but we also face these kind of problems, and we are using intelligent task management at Incture. Or have you used it?
I have used it. So for me, it has been a very good product. But yeah, I think there's a saying, right? Eat your own dog food. So maybe we should ask others. For me, it was very tasty in that by that way. But yeah, if you look at it from Incher, we have something called as we have launched an internal program, Incher Works, iWorks we call it. So basically, the idea is to see how we can connect different departments within Incher and give them the experience of doing a work in a unified way. So we are already doing it for a couple of use cases. We are using it for our resource management, travel and expense management kind of scenarios. But yeah, there are more which we can expand, and we are doing it step by step.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the whole idea of launching the digital platform for an organization on a product like intelligent task management sounds very very interesting, and especially at Incture, where for a small company a dollar makes a lot more difference,
Yeah.
right? The productivity that we are looking at is going to be tremendous. So the focus is more on being productive instead of being busy. So productivity is being able to do all these many things in one central place without context switching or cognitive overload. The phrase that I learned from you today, right? Um, Going back to the customers, right? I think Inkshare is a very interesting use case, and we can talk a lot about it. So we've been bringing more and more use cases on ITM for Inkshare. Going back to customers, can you give me an example of a use case that customer has used intelligent task management for, and what are the perceived benefits that customer has shared with you?
Um, Yeah, so there are a few customers who are already using this. I can't take out their names, but in a like in a typical enterprise world, right? So if you take a scenario of a procurement kind of a scenario, here a procurement manager is expected to manage vendors. He's expected to approve purchase orders. He's expected to manage his team. He's expected to do some visits. He's expected to do some activities, look at the stock. There can be a lot more activities which the user or the team needs to handle. Right. So one of this customer where we deployed it for Middle East, right? They really liked it so much that they have been very vocal about it to say that it has really allowed them otherwise something which is takes them 20 to 30 minutes to do one approval or one complete of workflow, right? They are now able to do it in less like couple of minutes in our application. So we're talking about that kind of a savings, what can be coming in. So the whole thought process is that take the complexity out from an end user perspective, give the end user the platform which is as easy as possible, even if possible recommend him the steps what he needs to do, and keep the complexity in the backend. So we manage the complexity, and the user sees it in a very simple way for him to take whatever is action required. That's the overall idea.
So all the heavy lifting is done by the ITM product, and a very simple, smooth screen is presented to the user where the work gets
Yes,
done.
yes, that's the
Okay.
focus.
Okay. We are There's a new version of the intelligent task management product that is upcoming. What can people expect to see in this new version?
Always new version is always new things. New version, I think we have heard some of our customers who have asked us to make it the application as easier to use as possible. We have made the application. We have taken inspiration from a lot of the application which the end user uses today. So the application UX has been ramped up to make it as easy for the new user onboarding as possible. So the whole goal is to avoid the training piece, right? I think we have passed an age where user need to be trained. We don't get trained to use Outlook, so why should we get trained to use task management? That's the overall That's a question which we are trying to answer. That's the one of the key ones which you would see. We are also working to have some back-end architecture changes and things. We are also coming up with the new layout of how the task is going to be shown to the users. So yeah, a lot of new exciting things coming up. So I think tomorrow we should come out with some release notes or things.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I think it makes sense that the product keeps upgrading itself with the new technology to keep, enhancing it with the latest features, the latest demands of the users in the organization. And I'm sure there will be many more versions of the product coming. So, where do you think this product is headed with intelligence? A piece that we are talking about, how is that coming into the product?
Yeah, so good question actually. So I think we have to reach a stage. So overall, what we are going is moving from a task management to a work management. So we are going into that area of work management, which might involve a lot of other things also. Where the intelligence comes in here is to stitch all of this together. How does the application know that this is the work or the task which you need to do from this system, this is the task which you need to do, but the from the same task maybe in another system is like this, but it's the same task, right, or same workflow which you need to do. How do you identify that? That's one. And bring all of them together, and like I said, give it to the end user. Because for him it is the step by step things for him to do, all right? So for him it has to be as easy as possible. So that's the first thing. And then also use the intelligence to recommend to the user on the action what he or she can take. That's also important. You will see that maybe some percentage of your daily activities are going to be a lot more repetitive activities, right? Let's say approval of some if you take an enterprise context, right, approval of some order for up to a certain amount which you know already is there from this vendor, etc., etc., standard ones, right? So that those can be done automatically, like leaves and things like that, right? So you can bring in some kind of intelligence there that the application can learn from the actions what you're taken, suggest some recommendation on the next best action and things like that, right? So those are the areas where I think the intelligence is going to really add value.
I think that's going to be very interesting, and I would really want to automate a lot of the task approvals that come to me, the repetitive task approvals that come to me, and I think that is going to yet more save my time, right?
Yes.
So, before I go to the last segment of this session, I want to ask you which is your favorite feature in the product?
I have many. I don't think I have one feature as such. There are actually many features in the application, but if I could highlight top two or three ones which I like it a lot, why it is, maybe I'll start with the visualization piece itself. I think that's a lot of underrated feature currently, because everybody thinks that what is there in the visualization, but only I think for them they should see our application. That's the message what I would have. So even if you see, right, the same information shown to you in a different way can also mean different things for you. So let's take an example of showing you I can show it to you all the task in kind of a list, kind of a view, which will just be a big list of 100 different things for you to do, which is not very easy to understand. You will still have some criterias like status and priorities and things like that, but still it might not make that much sense to you. It just becomes a list view, right? That's what we've been seeing a lot in a lot of IT systems. But if you're able to get this into a different view and show it to the user to say that, okay, you would have seen, right, the board, the concept of boards came in because people wanted to see this in a different view. They wanted to have it in a view where they should want it to be able to arrange it, move around different boards. So that gives them a little more freedom than to see it in a kind of a tabular list view, right? So that is a different kind of interaction pattern. And we also have another couple of them, which is maybe with respect to showing task in a geospatial kind of a view, right? So especially in a automotive kind of a scenario, you and I drive vehicles, right? So if the how good it would be that the either our dealer or service center or whoever it is maintaining it is able to see the tasks which are there on my vehicle, on what are the ones which are requiring due recommended changes and some failures or anything, right? From the ECU, the communication is been happening for some time now, and a lot of them are coming to systems and things. So if they're able to see it, it makes sense. Then I can be routed to the nearest person, nearest center, and as I'm going there, automatically it knows that the vehicle is coming in with the five things to check, and these are the 5 parts which you need to have. All of that can be done. So the experience becomes different. So that's one underrated feature which I think we have worked a lot. You would see it coming in this release and the future releases. Definitely, I think the next one, which is very important, is the ability to manage the task lifecycle inside the application. That is more important. You might realize, or at least I have realized that when I'm working on something, suddenly I know, okay, this one I need to follow back after like 10 days, or I need to send it to somebody to get it done. I usually send it, but then that thread goes there only because I forget to track it, and it's not a task, it's just a note which is sent. So but if I could just create it as a task, then it's there in the as something to be done, right? So that way, ability to create the task, then manage that task, the life cycle of the task inside the application. So that's also important feature which we have. So the overall that ad hoc task creation management is something which I'm really attached to. Then I think the bot which we call as cherry bot, it's still a work in progress. We have not fully. I don't think we're going to release a customer usable version of that in this release. But I think when it comes in, it's going to be your assistant, personal assistant, like how they have Alexa. This is going to be your personal assistant for your task, which is going to do everything for you. We are even thinking about a scenario where you can just ask the bot to take action and it will do the action for you. So that's kind of a scenario. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think these are just the top few interesting features in intelligent task management. And I think if we go to cherrywork.com, we can request for a demo of the product, and you get to see all these interesting features in the demo. So, with this, we can close the session. Thank you so much, Ravi, for your time.